I call this meeting of the Johnson City Commission open on Thursday, March 23rd at 6 p.m. here in the Commission Chambers at the Municipal and Safety Building. First, we're going to have the invocation and the pledge, and tonight the invocation is led by Chauncey Slater, minister at Thankful Baptist Church. And would you stand for the prayer and remain standing for the pledge afterwards?
Amen. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Fowler, Vice Mayor Murphy, fellow city leaders and commission. Thank you all for having me this evening. It's a pleasure to be here. Let's go to the Lord in prayer at this time. Father God, we thank you for this wonderful day. We thank you for getting us thus far, Lord, as we come together for this meeting of the minds, Lord, for the betterment of your city, Lord. We speak right now, Lord, that everything just come together as it should, Lord, that everyone listens to one another and that all ideas are laid out on the table, and we do everything that is for the betterment of the city and for the betterment of each person that lives here in this city, Lord. It's in Son Jesus' name we do pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Commission, your next order of business is to consider the approval of the minutes of the regularly scheduled City Commission meeting held on Thursday, March 2nd, 2023.
Move approval.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Mr. Trivet?
Commissioner Brock?
Yes.
Commissioner Wise?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Murphy?
Yes.
Mayor Fowler?
Yes.
Commission, the next order of business is consideration of an appointment to the BrightRidge Board. Provost McCorkle has been nominated for that slot.
Do I
That's a
have any
mayoral appointment.
mayoral appointment? Do we have any discussion or anything anyone would like to say?
Do you need a motion or to approve the mayoral appointment, or?
I think it's a consensus then after he makes the motion, and then,
All right, I would make a motion that we accept Dr. Kimberly McCorkle as the replacement for the BrightRidge Board, and that would be until July?
that's
Just
right.
the next 3 months for that?
The 3 months for Dr. B.J. King, who's vacated the position, and then her full appointment after that for beginning
So
of
I would
July.
second that if that's procedurally what we need.
Any further discussion? All right, Mr. Trivet?
Commissioner Brock?
Yes.
Commissioner Wise?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Murphy?
Yes.
Mayor Fowler?
Yes.
The next order of business is street closures. We have Lindsay Jones with us. Thank you, Lindsay. Item 5.1 is the road closure request from Munsey United Methodist Church for the community Easter egg hunt.
Munsey United Methodist Church requests soft closures of King Street and Millard Street for their annual community Easter egg hunt on Saturday, April 8th from 10 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. The Special Events Committee, including Traffic, Police, and Public Works, have reviewed the site plan and find the closure safe and appropriate. We recommend approval.
Move
Just to-
approval. I'm sorry.
Well, I'll ask the question after we get the motion on
I
there.
have
Move
a motion.
approval.
Yeah.
Second.
I have a motion and a second.
Okay.
Do I have any discussion?
Just where would the actual hunt take place? Is it in King Commons, or I'm trying to?
The hunt this year will take place in King Commons Park, utilizing the pedestrian area, the great lawn, and then, of course, the wonderful new playground.
All right, great.
All right. Any other discussion? Mr. Trivet?
Commissioner Brock?
Yes.
Commissioner Wise?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Murphy?
Yes.
Mayor Fowler?
Yes. Would you like to talk about your event?
We would love to.
Come on up.
So Munsey has been delighted to host a community-wide Easter egg hunt for the past several years. We've been at Carver Park, we've been at the library lawn before it was King Commons, and more recently at Founders, but for obvious reasons, we've pivoted to King Commons this year. And it's just a great outreach and a chance for the entire city to be involved. We have egg hunts based on different age levels and just with a huge focus on trying to keep our children safe. So we're very appreciative of Art Jones at Renaissance Bank and Julia Turpin at the library for their agreement and kind of adjusting access to their facilities for a little bit. But it's just a wonderful day, and we invite everyone to come.
Gonna
Thank
have any
you.
bunny rabbits there, or?
We will have an Easter bunny, bunny costume, so bring your friends, bring your relatives. Only bring other people's friends with permission, please.
Have my grandchildren.
Thank you,
We'll
good
do
luck
that.
with
We would
that.
love
I
that.
hope it
Thank you
goes
so
well.
much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Next order is another road closure request for the Gentle Move Foundation, Run for Your Buns 5K.
Okay. The Gentle Move Foundation requests intermittent temporary closures of Commerce Street, East King Street, Elm Street, East Fairview Avenue, Hill Street, East Myrtle Avenue, West Fairview Avenue, and Montgomery Street for their Run for Your Buns 5K on April 22nd from 6:30 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. The Special Events Committee, including Traffic, Police, and Public Works, have reviewed the site plan and find it safe and appropriate. We also recommend approval for closures.
Move approval.
I have a motion.
Second.
And a second. Any further discussion? Mr. Trivett?
Commissioner Brock?
Yes.
Commissioner Wise?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Murphy? Yes. Mayor Fowler?
Yes. Would you like to talk about your event?
Sure. This is the 6th annual Run for Your Buns event that we've done in Johnson City. It's kind of moved throughout our community and landed down in downtown, which we were also in Founders last year, which we really enjoyed, but we've moved over to King Commons, which is a great opportunity for us as well to spread out. In the past, we've brought anywhere from 300 to 500 registered participants, as well as a lot of the community comes to learn in our post-race about colorectal health and the importance of screening. And I formed a nonprofit foundation, which is Gentle Move Colon Foundation, where all the proceeds go to help people who have ostomies, who need special supplies, or those who can't pay their deductible for their screenings.
Well, thank you. Good
you.
luck with that. Hope it goes well.
Mhm.
Hope the weather's great, too. All right,
Thank
next.
you. Next order of business is a road closure request for the Johnson City Public Library, LibCon 5.
Okay, last one. The Johnson City Public Library requests soft closure of Millard Street for their upcoming LibCon 5 event on Saturday, July 15th from 9:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. The Special Events Committee, including Traffic, Police, and Public Works, have all reviewed the site plan and find the proposed closure safe and appropriate. We recommend approval.
Move approval.
Second.
Any further discussion? Mr. Trivett?
Commissioner Brock?
Yes.
Commissioner Wise?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Murphy?
Yes.
Mayor Fowler?
Yes. Would you like to talk about your event?
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. Our LibCon is Johnson City Public Library's annual fandom convention. We've had it mostly annually, although the pandemic did put some kinks in that. Prior to the pandemic, we were having between 500 and 800 attendees, and last year we had a scaled back version with about 300. We've asked for the road closure. We've made some arrangements with Hands On Museum, who is going to be in the nature adventure area, which we have been loving using with the library over there. And we'll have some other children's events over there, and so we were wanting to make that a safe place for the kids to cross. If you're unfamiliar with a fandom convention, if you've ever heard of San Diego Comic-Con or Dragon Con, which they have in Atlanta, this is our much smaller Johnson City version of it. So we will have vendors, artist booths, trivia, a cosplay contest. It's just all around a fun time, and we love doing it because it gives people a place to come and share their love of all kinds of stories, and that's what we're all about. So thanks very much
Do
for
the
having
kids
me.
dress up? Is there any theme to it, or?
Our theme this year is an 80s, 90s retro theme. People can sort of take that and fly with it. We have people all the way from people who make their own costumes and spend a long time on them to kids that just like to get their Halloween costumes back out and use them again. So it's always a fun time.
What do you think the numbers might be this year, then?
Well, we're hopeful we'll be back up to those pre-pandemic numbers. So that was, I said, between 500 and 800.
That's
people.
great. Do y'all do anything to maybe try to help bring children in from neighborhoods that they may not, be able to get there, may not have transportation or anything at all?
We have not done that in the past, but it's something we could consider. We don't have, the library doesn't own the kind of transportation that we
Right,
could use
right.
for that, but we could possibly seek some community
Maybe some churches or
partnerships.
something,
Mhm.
pastor, that could get children down there that normally might not be there.
Yeah, that would be wonderful. It's a family-friendly, all-ages event, so.
That's great. Thank you for doing that. We certainly want to be known as a family-friendly city, and it's these kind of events that help us achieve that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commission, the next order of business is consideration of the consent agenda.
All right, I will start on my right since I only have one on my left today. So, Joe,
Yes.
anything to pull?
No, nothing. No.
I'd like to pull 6.1.5.
All right. And
I'm going to pull 6.1.6. I think Mr. Trivett can address that, and just for the public to see what's going on there.
all right, I don't have anything, so just those two. We'll start with 6.1.5. Vice Mayor?
And we have the gentlemen who are going to be doing the program for the boxing at Beeson Hall here with you, and I put in your packet their mission statement and vision statement and what they hope to gain from that program. So maybe if you have some questions directly toward that, and then I think we have April Norris with us too over at Park and Rec that maybe can answer some questions more about the facility. One thing I do want to point out is all that you are considering is a lease agreement for Beeson Hall. The program will be operated under LXI. They will have all their insurances and manage the program, do everything that's required to make the program successful. We're just actually approving or considering approving the lease to the building.
Any questions?
Yeah, I just had an opportunity to hear from the applicant or the requester concerning the use of this facility. And tell us a little bit about your organization, if you will.
LXI is an after-school program, nonprofit that's sit here in Keystone. And what we try to do is just offer a safe place for kids to be kids and get over some traumatic experiences in their life. And we want to offer some help, offer help and opportunities for them to get over that and be successful as far as getting to college and doing other things. If college is not the answer, then vocational school. If that's not the answer, then the workforce. But just getting kids from where they're at now and meeting them where they're at in life and try to get them to where they need to be. And obviously we bring God into the picture with that. The boxing program is going to help us get more kids off the street, more kids into an environment where they feel like they belong, part of something, which after COVID we know that that's been hard for kids. And this will give us an opportunity to give a bunch of kids that opportunity. And it's just not kids, but it's grown-ups. So you could be 35 in our boxing program. You could be 45 in our boxing program. And it's just not boxing. It teaches life skills. It teaches toughness. It teaches patience, humility, a lot of things that's been missing since COVID that we want to try to give back to our, not only our kids, but the community that we serve.
How many do you think will, participate in the program? I'm sure you'll be ramping it up over time when they realize the program is available.
Right now, we have 20, 25,
Okay.
and we're looking to probably double that with a facility. This is right now without a facility. We're just kind of using LXI and making it happen. But with a place that we can call boxing a home, we could easily double, triple that, for sure.
I understand that some may view boxing as a violent sport. And I understand that boxing is more of a controlled sport, one that takes persons to be very disciplined, to practice only those skills within facilitated and safe environment for competition purposes. Can you speak on that, in terms of those who may view it as a violent sport versus a sport that's more for discipline?
Honestly, I'm a basketball guy. I just know the benefits of boxing. I will let Kenny speak, but I know the discipline part of it. Kids that stay in boxing or any sport, they're more disciplined, and I think that's one of the big factors that I look at when I think about bringing boxing into LXI. It's just the discipline aspect and being committed to something. But as far as the more details part of it, I'll let Kenny speak. Well,
Wh-
it is.
What's your name? I'm sorry,
My
sir.
name is Kenny McDermott, and I'm one of the coaches at the LXI Boxing Academy. It can be considered a violent sport, obviously. You are getting punched in the head. But with that being said, with USA Boxing, it's a lot of structure that goes on with that organization. That is a national organization and recognized internationally. They use headgears, they use padded gloves. Where the danger comes in is really in the professional fighting game. The kids part of it is what we're more geared towards, the youth there. And that sport is as safe as can be. They're wearing headgears, they're wearing bigger gloves, and the rounds are a lot shorter. So they're only fighting 3-round fights. The youngest kids, you can start at 8. They're fighting the minute rounds, so 3 1-minute rounds. So 5 minutes, they're done. The older kids, you got a minute and a half, and then you also have 2-minute rounds, and that's mainly for the youth. So USA Boxing and all the technology that's gone into the sport for the youth has prevented major injuries. Of course, you do have some from time to time, but we feel confident with this, that going forward, that we're going to be safe as we can with it, and the organization that governs us is going to do everything in their measures as well.
So you'll be setting up boxing rings in the space?
Yes, ma'am. We've acquired one. We have to actually go pick it up in Knoxville, Tennessee, but we have to get that here. We'll have a ring in there. We'll have several pieces of equipment, and a lot of the things that we teach it teaches sports training, coordination. You find a lot of times that other athletes, they may play basketball, football, tennis, whatever the sport may be, they come and cross-train with boxing because boxing demands so much other things. You got to be on your P's and Q's, so to speak, when you're in the ring because you're trying to hit him and he's trying to hit you. So all the different aspects of all the muscle groups that you're doing come into effect. And that's why you see a lot of other sports athletes cross-training with boxing.
So they come in and you actually put them through physical fitness and
Go through
training
physical
and
fitness,
get them in
the
really,
whole
really
boxing
good shape.
workout and all that. I've had guys come to us to train before they go to the military. I've had that actually happen before, just to try to get in shape so they can pass PT. So it has a lot of benefits for the community. And our main focus, our mission statement or vision statement, is just to produce successful citizens at the end of the day. A lot of these kids that we're dealing with have trauma. They come from broken homes. And we just want to give them a positive, safe space for them to grow, be a kid, but learn how to eventually be an adult and be a successful citizen.
Great.
I've been a,
On the safety, I think one of the biggest things is bringing people.
You come to the mic, please.
I think speaking on, I'm sorry.
you're fine.
I think one of the biggest things about safety is bringing people in that know what they're doing to teach the kids. And I think we got Scott been around the game for 30+ years. So we have people that's been around, that know what they're doing, that's grew and developed with the game over the years. So I think that's a big component of keeping our kids safe, along with USA Boxing.
That's what I was going to, but I've been a USA ring doctor
Oh, yes.
back a few years ago, but anyway, I know that a good referee is the one that controls the dangerous part of that, and then the doctor keeping them from going on, and the USA boxing fighting. So with the right people in there, it's not as dangerous as people think it is, especially for kids, because they've got people controlling it. When you say bigger gloves, it's harder to get hurt with a bigger glove, so not everybody knows that. But the smaller, knuckles are bad, boxing gloves are better, big boxing gloves are even better. So, and you get points for hitting the right places and things too. So it's not, you don't have to knock somebody out to win a fight, it's points too. So for those people that haven't been around it, it's pretty fun actually. And you don't think 2 minutes is a long time until you're boxing for 2 minutes straight, and 3 rounds is still plenty for kids. So that's a good. The rules are great. So we appreciate you doing that and bringing that for our kids here in Johnson City. So thank you.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah, I want to thank Mr. Johnson and Kenny. Thank you for just sharing with us today. I'm very familiar with LXI as an organization and your impact that you have in our community and your leadership and your legacy here in this city. So I'm excited. I want to thank you for offering this program for our kids. It's very much needed. And so I'll just look forward to the next steps.
And I want to thank all of y'all for the opportunity and just the support. A lot of this wouldn't get done without y'all, so I really appreciate it.
And I think April's standing behind you there. I know you're working with Parks and Rec to get the facility together and ready to go, so we're excited to see you get started.
I think we had the former Silver Gloves champion, E.J. Sonpon, walk into the chamber.
All right.
Silver Gloves champion of last year, is that correct? Yeah. 2021, 2 years ago, yeah.
Well, you can't come in without saying something.
Come
on up to the microphone.
Yeah. Come on up, EJ.
Thank you for having us.
Tell them what boxing means to you.
Yes.
I mean, the only reason why I box is I see people do it, and then I see my dad do it, and then that's why I wanted to do boxing and stuff.
Very good. You going to help them out with the program?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the right answer.
Well,
You're a champion right now.
Yeah.
Kind of the leader of the whole program.
That's great.
That's great.
We wish you all well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next
Next.
item, I'm sorry, Mayor.
No, go ahead.
Item 6.1.6, I think there's a question about the fast charging electric vehicle station. And I know that y'all heard about this earlier in the work session today, but I'm assuming you just want to
I just wanted the
explain it.
public to know. I think Randy was going to just give a real quick overview of it and.
Well, we were very fortunate that BrightRidge received a grant in order to participate in the state's program. What the state is trying to achieve is to put these fast-charging electrical vehicle charging stations every 50 miles across the state on major thoroughfares, and I-26 counts as that. So they approached us, once they received the grant, they submitted application, approached us to find a location. And we were looking for something downtown that would meet the parameters of the grant. And we decided to use the Cherry Street parking lot along South Throne, very adjacent to South Throne Street. We were able to tap into a transformer there and come across and install those. These will be fast charging stations that will have, and there'll be 2 stations there that will be tied to an app that people who are be traveling, they will have an app and they'll have notification on the interstate of where to get off, how to get to these stations, be able to charge their car. And the benefit to the city is that while they're charging their car, they'll be able to walk around town and shop and eat at our restaurants. And then they'll get a notice on their phone that their car is charged and they can come back and get on the road again and start traveling. But it'll be a good way for us to showcase our town. It's a good way, as the technologies continue to improve, to add some of those stations into our community. We already have some slower charging ones, but this will be one of the fast charging ones that will charge a vehicle in 30 to 40 minutes.
It's great. It's great to partner with BrightRidge on that.
Sure is.
And it's very nice to get a grant to get to fast charging here in Johnson City and not cost the city anything.
Absolutely, it'll be no
So-
cost to the city. You all are just approving the use of the space in the parking lot.
Anything else? Do I have a motion?
So moved to
Second.
pass the consent agenda. Sorry.
And I have a first and a second from Vice Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Any other discussion? Mr. Trivett?
Commissioner Brock?
Yes.
Commissioner Wise?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Murphy?
Yes.
Mayor Fowler?
Yes.
Commission, item 7.1 is ordinance number 4838-23. This is the first reading and public hearing. This is an ordinance to amend the fiscal year 2023 budget passed by ordinance 4812-22. And Dustin will be presenting tonight.
Commissioners, thank you for allowing me to speak to you this evening. And just on a quick personal note, I want to thank Ms. Ball and Mr. Trivett and Ms. Baker for allowing me to be here. We do have first reading and public hearing. This ordinance does amend your FY23 budget. We have 4 main points to cover. The first is personnel. These funds, or this proposal appropriates additional funds for personnel for departments, as you can see on the screen. The second point appropriates funds to the Johnson City Public Library. You approved this additional funding in December, at one of your meetings in December. The third point appropriates funds to our community partner agencies for projects which they have ongoing. And the fourth point appropriates additional monies to the 3 capital projects that you see on the screen: Freedom Hall Golf and Wingder Park. We do have sufficient revenues to cover these additional expenses, so this will not require us to dip into our fund balance to pay for these. And in addition to the additional appropriations, this ordinance does move money. It moves $2.3 million in ARPA funds from capital projects to a general fund operating budget, and that's just the appropriate place where it should be budgeted. Our recommendation is to approve this, for you to approve this on first reading after public hearing. And if you've got any questions, myself or management would be happy to answer those.
If I have no questions, I will move to open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to talk about this amendment to our budget? Seeing no one, I will close the public hearing.
Move approval.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Well, thanks for pulling all this together. I know we need to make these adjustments over a 12-month period because we budget and then things do change, so.
Things change, yes.
I think it's very clear to us and to the public. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Trivett?
Commissioner Brock?
Yes.
Commissioner Wise?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Murphy?
Yes.
Mayor Fowler?
Yes.
Thank you.
Good job.
Thanks.
Thank you, Dustin. It's good to have you here, Dustin. Item 7.2 is ordinance 4840-23. This is the first reading. This is a proposed text changes to Article 2, definition of terms used in the code, and Article 4, application of regulations of the zoning code of the City of Johnson City. Development Services. We have Amber Rogers here to present.
Good evening, everyone. Okay, so 4840-23 is about lot area averaging. Quick background. Staff was working with the Planning Commission on revisions to the residential districts, but as we saw the growth management plan coming down the horizon for us, we thought it would be better to wait on it so that we're not doing rework if that growth management plan has us do a lot of text changes to the districts. But while we were doing that work, we saw an opportunity to try looking at lot area averaging, and it is a really simple text change that could have really big implications. So some of the possible benefits are flexibility for developing constrained lots, reduction of the cookie cutter grid shaped development style, reduce grading and vegetation removal, and these things would fit developments more naturally into the surrounding landscape. And one of the other benefits that we're really sort of hoping for is that with a variety of lot sizes, you end up with a variety of home sizes, which could also relate to a variety of home prices. So in a neighborhood, a variety of home prices is a thing that we like. So here is a really simple model to start with, just to get sort of like an idea of it. I took R2B, our current district, as an example. And just as a reminder, it has a 35% maximum coverage for the principal building. And the setbacks are 20 feet for the front yard, 30 feet for the rear yard, 8 feet for the side yard. And what I did was I took a little mathematical scale and I made boxes, and this is what those setback boxes look like. And then I did similar boxes for lots and structure sizes. So here's what it looks like, again, in a cartoon model form. The smallest lots in the R2B could be as small as 7,200 square feet. And then the largest lot that would count toward the average would be 10,800 square feet. But the mean lot size for the whole development would still have to be the district's minimum of 9,000 square feet. And here is what it looks like in real life. This is just a neighborhood in a county. And House number 1 is a medium lot on a medium, or a medium house on a medium-sized lot for this development. Number 2 is a larger house on a larger lot, and number 3 is a smaller house on a smaller lot. And here's what they look like from the front. And again, number 1 is a medium house, medium lot. Number 2, large and large. And number 3 is small and small. And then this is that same area of that neighborhood street view, and a comparison of how our single-family detached residential districts look in comparison with this example. And you can see that the example has the smallest lot size is a lot smaller than our smallest lot size would be. And they also have a wider spread than what we're proposing. There's this kind of 65, 135, and we're doing 80, 120.
And our smallest would be the 9?
Our
dozen?
very smallest possible, well, R2C is our smallest single-family
Right.
detached district, and the smallest lot there would be 4,800 square feet, the smallest possible.
What size house could go on that? I mean, that's one of the things we're seeing is that.
Up to 2,520 square feet of coverage for that principal building.
Fairly.
Oh, I'm sorry, this is R2B.
Yeah.
No, so on a 4,800 square feet, you probably could get about a 2,000 square foot.
Yeah, I'm
or
sorry,
1,800 square
I
foot
didn't do the
house.
math for every one of the
Right.
districts, I'm
No,
sorry.
we understand.
But still, even for that, the R2C, you would have different size homes. You wouldn't have just the same cookie cutter home
Well,
throughout.
so, one of the reasons I chose this example obviously is more intense than anything that we have, because I'll get to it and then I'll tell you that. Right, so their smallest lot size is a lot smaller. And then if we look at the other development regulations, like maximum coverage, minimum width in front, this is also a lot more intense than anything that we could see in our districts, right? So this one has a coverage of up to 50%, and that's higher than any of our districts would allow, because the highest one that we have is 40. So that's to say that this is more intense than what we would see. But it's just an example. And the reason I chose it, and it's so good, is that this is unzoned land. The developer saw this property and they decided to put in curved streets, and they decided to put in varying lot sizes and varying house sizes. But we don't have that flexibility in our code right now. But with the option, you could see that. So that was the idea. The things that the lot area averaging would not do, would not allow a higher density. Because you have to meet that average lot size, you're not going to get more lots out of the property. You're not going to get more narrow lots because we're not allowing it here. You are not going to see any setback reductions, again, because it's not part of this code. And it's not going to encourage more variance requests. So we're not asking developers to make terribly shaped tiny lots so that they can maximize out how many they can get. None of that is part of what this is proposing. And then we also are not going to force developers to use it. It's an option that's available. But like I said, these people could have done whatever they wanted. They're unzoned, and they chose it because they know that it looks nice and it sells good. It sells, right? You have a higher, more people are available to purchase the homes if there's a variety of homes in your neighborhood or costs in the neighborhood. Some of the other jurisdictions, I couldn't really find anything that's actually like our lot area averaging in Tennessee. But there are things that allow for smaller lot sizes, and they usually are associated with some sort of open space subdivision where you get a smaller lot size, but you also have to provide open space that's shared. And I included a picture of one recently done in Memphis in your package, just so you could get an idea of what that looks like. But there's other states that have cities with actual lot area averaging, and in Sultan, Washington, you can go down to 80%. In Bellevue, you can get a 10% reduction, and in Ivan, Utah, 25% of the lots can be 75% of the size of the district. So the new definition's a lot of words. But the key features are to reduce grading and earthwork and vegetation removal. And again, this is giving the developer the option of not having to remove as much earth and vegetation. And to help improve the developability of constrained lands. Because if you can take your sinkhole area and get a bigger lot there, and then maybe get a couple smaller lots in a more convenient location, you have more flexibility to develop those more difficult lands. And again, to fit more naturally into the surrounding landscape. And we have a section of the code where it'll fit perfectly into. Currently, section 4.5 is called reduction in lot size. So this is how it would read. It was too much with the strikeouts and underlines. But we would be sort of doing a couple edits and then throwing in 4.2.5, which is saying lot area averaging in the detached single-family districts, minimum lot area, 80% of the district's minimum, maximum that will count toward the average is 120%. So they could put in a lot that's 150%, but they only get credit to 120. And the average lot will be no less than the district's minimum, and it doesn't affect anything else. Like I said, setbacks, lot width, all that. We have numerous policies in our bridge and strategic plan that support this sort of ordinance. During the public comment period at the Planning Commission meeting last Tuesday, we got some comments. One person asked that we also allow lot width reductions along with this. And he also stated that the grid pattern gives us the most lots. So I think he was pretty sure that developers would not deviate from the grid pattern. But like I showed you, that developer with unzoned land chose to. And we've received feedback that it is something that is desirable.
Well, they don't have to do it either.
They don't. They have the option to. So if it were to save money, because you don't have to cut out a giant slope or do a bunch of fill, because you can just average the lots out, yeah. So there's a lot of benefit aesthetically and financially. It would also encourage variations in road curvature that are appealing to the eye. This was a comment from the public. And the ability to vary types of houses, it would look better than the grids and rows of houses. Staff recommends approval, and the Planning Commission also recommended approval.
I would make a motion to approve and just say, I don't know why we haven't done this before. In an area of the country where our topography naturally creates challenges to development, the kind of grid patterns that you showed in those maps, if you're coming in and buying 100 acres of flat farmland, that's really easy. You just run a road through and just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, around here, there's nothing flat. And so this kind of thing helps to remedy that, and I just think it makes a great deal of sense. So a motion to approve.
I'll second that, and at the same time say, well, first of all, thank you. You've done a lot of work on this, and I think it's just really headed in the right direction. I think the attractiveness of something like this is better suited more to the character of the way, residential homes are built in this area. I guess my only question is, why are we just not making it a requirement instead of an option?
Well, like Commissioner Wise said, there are places where it makes sense to have a grid pattern.
Okay. But we will encourage them to really consider this.
Absolutely.
When you get the big projects. Okay. Thank you.
Well, and inside and out, like a cul-de-sac's always going to result in a bigger lot size because of the way the lot plans out. The inside corners are always going to be small for the other reasons. So it seems to me likely people are going to do this more often than not.
Any other discussion? I have a motion and a second. Mr. Trivett?
Commissioner Brock?
Yes.
Commissioner Wise?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Murphy?
Yes.
Mayor Fowler?
Yes.
Commission, your next order of business is item 8.1. This is the second reading for ordinance number 4835-23. No public hearing. This is to consider assignment of the B4 district to an approximately 1.75 acre territory located at 4903 North Roan Street, also associated with the voluntary Holy Taco annexation. Hey, Peyton.
Hi, good evening, Commissioners. Mr. Ryder presented this item at the last City Commission meeting. There have been no changes since then. Just to remind you all, we are on our second reading and there is no public hearing. But at that next meeting, we will have public hearing on both the zoning assignment and the annexation itself. But I'm happy to answer any questions that you all might have.
Any changes since the last one?
No, sir.
Move approval.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Mr. Trivett?
Commissioner Brock?
Yes.
Commissioner Wise?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Murphy?
Yes, sir, I'm sorry.
Mayor Fowler?
Yes.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 9.1 is ordinance number 4834-23. This is the third reading. This is a proposed text change to Article 14 amendments of the zoning code of the City of Johnson City, Tennessee. I think we have Amber back with us.
Okay. Hello again. So this is the third reading. We had public hearing at the last meeting. One small change to the, I spilled my water. One small change make a correction to the body of the ordinance. No changes have been made to the caption or the title, the top part of the ordinance that would warrant voiding it. It is exactly the same as it was advertised previously, and that's it.
I will move for approval.
We have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Mr. Trivett?
Commissioner Brock?
Yes.
Commissioner Wise?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Murphy?
Yes.
Mayor Fowler?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you again.
Item 10.1 is to consider setting staggered terms and maximum term limits for the board members appointed to the Tri-Cities Regional Airport Authority Board by the Johnson City Board of Commissioners. Commissioners, this item came up as part of the review after the last boards and commissions appointments, and we realized there were no terms associated with these members of these boards, and that one of the board members requires that the city manager be a member of that, of the airport board. So we are recommending that this be considered. Those changes would not take place until July 1 and following afterwards, but we would recommend that there be a rotation, not for the city manager, but for the other two appointments on the board every 3 years.
I want to acknowledge staff. This is a kind of an extension of an effort the commission's made over the last number of years relative to our appointments to make sure that we're taking a more holistic view of the overall candidate pool and really trying to encourage as many people to participate from as many different parts of our community as possible. And I think what we found was we had a couple of these appointments that were tied to boards that had bylaws that were bigger and outside of our immediate purview, and that we kind of missed them in that process. And so I think this is a logical progression in that effort, and I would make a motion to approve and look forward to dealing with it further, I guess, in July.
I'll second that, and I agree with you, Commissioner Wise. This brings our appointments to boards and commissions to consistency, that we're approaching it all in the same way.
I think Dan Mahoney may be happy after 37 years that he's not going to have to stay on for too much longer, so.
The end is in sight.
Any further discussion? Mr. Trivett?
Commissioner Brock?
Yes.
Commissioner Wise?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Murphy?
Yes.
Mayor Fowler?
Yes.
That is all of our formal business.
I'll start over here this evening. Anything else you want to add?
I just would like to ask Mr. Trivett, Founders Park. I know that that's a part of the West Walnut Street with all the construction going on.
Yes, ma'am.
And just maybe give us an overview of when the work in Founders Park might be complete. And then, do we have a new big kind of culvert coming out into the creek?
At Founders Park?
Uh-huh.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. is there
That's
any-
capturing all that storm water that's being
Yeah.
collected on the new West Walnut, and it'll divert it down toward the creek that'll come out. But all of that'll be covered. There'll be grass put back in, and it's going into the creek at an angle with the regular swell that was in there before. We'll just have to keep it
But
cleaned out a little
Is there a
better.
big concrete structure now coming out of the wall down closer to where it goes under the bridge?
Not to my
Okay.
knowledge. It's
All
not
right.
supposed to be.
Maybe I just
It's-
noticed.
It's supposed to be coming in at where there was a swell where the water, if it
Yeah, I
floods,
know-
you
I
know,
know
that
what you're
whole
talking
area is a
about, yeah.
stormwater flooding area.
Yeah.
And it would back up and there was a swell there. And so that's where the water's supposed to discharge. And I believe there's 2 pipes. And so there'll be parallel pipes that'll be running down through there in order to handle everything and go into the creek. And we had to take it in at that angle because of the way the flow would go. We couldn't get a lot of slope because of how flat the property is. And that's why they did that there. And then they're having a tunnel under the railroad and under the road to get back across to the Walnut Street.
So when do you
project.
think Founders Park, though, will be back to?
Well, Meet the Mountains is in
August.
August. And so the target date, that what they're telling us that they're going to be finished on is by the end of July, the 1st of August, before the Meet the Mountains. We're going to be really close, but Brenda's constantly checking with us to make sure. And so that's the last report we got from the contractor, is that we'll be finished by the end, before that happens. And back in grass, and we're debating now to look at whether we sow grass and straw or we put sod down.
I would just also, as we, hopefully we'll get into a little bit drier weather, I was just over on the West Walnut Street before it started raining again. The dust is really bad again, so I don't know how they're going to keep up with that, but
Well, we're putting that tar down when that happens. I mean, they're still constantly watering it all the time, but they're also putting that temporary bituminous
Right, I
tar
understand that.
down. And then we're also trying to get everything paved on that side. So everything's gonna have temporary paving, basically from the firehouse back. I mean, they're building up Ash Street right now to get all that paved, and they're looking at the crossroads to get those paved as well. The problem is, you know, we were trying to hold them back so that they didn't move on farther toward ETSU until they got all that paved and ready to go, or at least a binder down. But we're having to tie in water lines and things that are running that whole length, that you can't really say you gotta do it here without tying it all in. But we're getting as much accomplished before we move on as we can. And then the old Crystal Ice building it's completely demolished. And so we're gonna start working on putting that road in and putting in the retention pond that goes in there, and that'll be a lot of in-house workers doing that, as well as with Summers Taylor moving on down the road.
will the part they're working on right now just be temporarily capped when they get everything finished?
Yes, it'll be.
Then they'll start on the other end?
Correct.
So the real streetscapes won't start until everything is complete?
That's correct. I
Okay.
mean, we'll start putting curbs, and then we'll come back in and do sidewalks later, but they'll have curbs and a temporary cap that's in there in case we have to come back and tear it out. And I have a meeting tomorrow, an update with Summers Taylor, to discuss moving forward, some change orders, some things that they've found that were unforeseen, where we've hit unsuitable soils and things like that. And anytime you do a project that's been that old, developed that long ago, you're gonna hit things like that you just don't expect, and we have to deal with them. We're having to move some huge electrical boxes because of existing piping or stormwater that's in the same way, and so some of those things will come back, but we're maintaining a watchful eye over that. We're making sure that we're keeping everything into contingency, and we'll be bringing that back to you at a later date. After my meeting tomorrow, we should have everything pretty much set, that we're establishing unit prices for the future as we go forward. But I'll bring back what they've done so far so that you guys can approve that and establish those unit prices.
Will the west end be a little bit easier to do? I mean, or does it still have all the stormwater?
There, you know, the way
components to
it still has all the stormwater, and the way we're dividing this up right now is that we feel like once we get to where we've gotten torn up now, put back pretty close, that we're gonna be at 60%. So you have a lot of additional streets that, like Ash Street, that ran parallel, that you will not have on the west end, but we still have a lot of those side streets that cross, that we're having to, according to the original plan, we were just gonna trench them and then just do an overlay over top of them as we got the underground utilities in. Well, by the time we're getting the underground utilities in, it's destroying the whole road and the curb. So now we're having to go back and undercut it and put in new roads and things. So that's part of the change order that will be coming back, but at least we're doing it right without just patching it up.
Thank you.
Commissioner Wise?
I don't have anything. Vice Mayor Murphy?
No, sir.
Well, we're getting out in time to watch a little bit of NCAA basketball
Absolutely.
tonight.
Is
There's
that
a couple-
going on right now?
Yeah, Arkansas-Connecticut game, and then Tennessee might be playing after that, so.
That's right.
I'm sure we've got a few people interested in them, so.
Could we welcome Stephanie to the dais up here?
Absolutely.
She's our Director of Finance for the city, and how long have you been here now?
It's been about 6 weeks,
6 weeks.
6 or 7 weeks.
We hear you've hit the ground running.
I'm trying.
They've been
Thank
chasing
you.
her since day one.
No, they're not chasing me. They're, as I'm leaving every evening, it's, you're coming back tomorrow, right?
We've had the fire hose wide open, just following her around with it.
Well,
But she is doing an extremely good job, and we're very happy, and I'm very happy to relinquish my seat to her. So, well, the next meeting, I may be over there where Miss Ball is at.
She's
with
on
Stephanie.
vacation, all right.
And then after that, I'll be finding me a back corner seat somewhere out of the way.
You
Our
might
next meeting
explain-
is 2 weeks, not next Thursday.
Yeah, it's
Correct.
April the 6th.
Yeah.
It's April 6th.
Yeah.
Randy, you might just explain too, that besides being Director of Finance, that position is the city recorder.
Absolutely,
And
and the city
explain to what-
treasurer. It's the city treasurer, the
Uh-huh.
finance director, and the city recorder.
Okay.
So she performs all the swearing in of new police officers, of
Commissioners.
firemen, of commissioners, of school board members. She has a lot of responsibility to do that in accordance with the charter.
You might shorten that oath of office. I mean, it's really complicated.
I did my first one with the police a few days ago, and that was the first time I'd ever done it, so.
It's pretty lengthy.
It is.
Yeah, you have to consider your audience and break it down real slow.
Yes.
I'm not gonna argue with you.
John and I, the last one, we were just like
Yeah.
trying to follow each other.
I
Neither one of
state
us
your
got
name,
it.
state your name.
All right.
Well, welcome aboard.
Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Anything else? I will call us adjourned.